California and Utah sink into the depths. So
yeah, I have no
fine.
coast.
10 years, she's got coastal property.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll have property.
Fine, beachside condo, whatever you have.
If we sink before Yellowstone explodes, I think there is a really cool period of time where, you know, the plateau of Colorado is going to be like the cliffs of Dover. So, you know.
Well, here's a question. I don't know why science hasn't considered this. Why don't you point Yellowstone down so that way when it explodes, we raise up and therefore we don't have to worry about flooding? It's just like a big propulsion.
Right. So there's something about an instantaneous acceleration that I think would still be problematic at that point. So,
yeah, but not as problematic.
Hmm.
And also only for that side, because again, the problem with Yellowstone is it blows up and like cloud cover and all this stuff, you know, super volcano gets in the air and whatever, right? But if you point it down and it shoots up, the worst case, we just blow that side of the country up, which nobody likes anyway, and we raise the rest of it. So, you know.
Fair. Yeah.
I'm just saying, if the people at CERN or whoever deals with this want to get in on it.
Yep. Yes, the particle accelerator scientists are the finest in understanding the Yellowstone supervolcano.
It's a bunch of fast shit being shot out of something and knocked into other somethings. I mean, clearly, who else is going to do it?
Apparently, Ron Jeremy, if that's what we're dealing with. So
he's in jail.
Oh, okay. Well, balls. I don't know.
Yes, he had he dealt with those too.
Yeah, and also fast shit shooting out of things, probably. So, sorry, wildly inappropriate.
Yeah. It's okay. We're 2 minutes in, so it's fine.
I didn't say anything ban worthy, but just inappropriate. So
it's debatable, but that's it. That's all I got for today. The rest of it's on YouTube.
All right. Welcome to the Dresden Files, where we're going to cut down the science talk so that we can make it through the last 39 pages of
we can make it through the magic talk.
Yep.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. So my notes had us at chapter 27, actually, which means he had gotten out and we did do the what unicorn, but then immediately got jumped. Right. So,
yes.
Yeah. What unicorn? I nod the question. This is at the end. So who had? Then the answer hit me low in the gut right before I got hit in the back of the head. Paraphrased, but you know. Chapter 27, I came to on the ground of that dark never wood. Spirit realm or not, I felt cold and started shivering uncontrollably. That made playing possum pretty much impossible.
Impossible. Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So I sat up and tried to take stock. Do you think he had the same thought when he was writing that? I didn't feel any.
He should have.
Right. I didn't feel any new bruises or breaks, so I hadn't been pounded while I was out. Bummer. But yeah, so a lot of internal dialogue stuff. My notes say to just like read this chapter, but I'm going to skim for time. And mostly we're focused on, you know, the story stuff that we can show on screen, any dialogue that needs to come out and that sort of thing. So we can have him wake up and take stock of his surroundings and stuff. Let's see. Oh yeah, he's probing with his wizard senses, but I think he's in a circle. So, yeah, he's in a fairy circle, more specifically. So then he realizes he's trapped. Double huzzah!
Set.
Yeah. Only after I'd gotten an idea of my predicament did I stand up and face my captors. There were 5 of them, which seemed less than fair. Aurora is there, now dressed in what I could only describe as a battle gown made out of some kind of silver mail as fine and light as cloth. So obviously we need to hire the same armorers as from Lord of the Rings, you know?
Sure.
And
we also need to have this be like that scene in Harry Potter where the Death Eaters are revealed. They have to take their face masks off one by one, even if you can tell exactly who they are otherwise.
Right. Geez, I wonder who the guy with the 3-foot long platinum blonde hair is. Oh shit, it was Lucius. Oh my god. I had no idea that guy was a bad guy after the asshole he's been. So
Yeah,
no,
these will
just-
be more obvious just based on the fact that they'll all be wearing different things. And
Is it less obvious in the books? I know we're not doing side stories, but like, do they describe a Death Eater running around with like platinum blonde hair and then Harry Potter's like, oh my god, I wonder who that is? Or is it one of those things that because it's visual, we kind of get that spoiled for us?
I don't think it is, because in the books, the only ones he really sees are at the World Cup, and then he sees Crouch's son. But that meeting in the graveyard is where he, like, all the revelations of Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle's parents and all that are.
Gotcha.
It's been a really long time since I read that book, but I thought there was an implication that like a reader could pull out, even if Harry didn't, that it was Crabbe and Goyle Sr. as parents running around as Death Eaters at the World Cup.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too, but
Some nerd in our audience is going to correct us, and we'll have an answer
Get
in
on
a
it.
minute.
Yeah.
it'll be Andreas, even though he's pretending to be sick.
Yeah.
So we go practical with this one, right? When it comes to the mud in a few minutes, we
absolutely.
we actually dry and drown the actor, I assume.
I was
Yeah.
definitely thinking, I mean, he's named after Houdini, right? So,
Exactly. He has to
Like,
get out of this.
yeah. Yeah. Aurora does her bad guy monologuing. So, I regret that it has come to this, but you come too close to interfering. And so Grum is there, huge and scarlet skinned and silent, and the horrific unicorn that had apparently been guarding the way to Mother Winter's cottage. What do you intend to do with me? Kill you? Oh, wait, sorry. Her voice is gentle. Kill you. I don't know. So she's real sad about it, though, so that makes it okay.
I mean, as long as your eyes glisten a little in that anime way.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
See, we should
Harry
just do
asks,
this all animated. Anime bad
no,
guys.
No. Yeah. So we're gonna genetically engineer the actress to have anime eyes. So, I think that's the easiest way to go.
I think that just means it's Anya Taylor-Joy.
I was going to say her
Oh.
and Ella Purnell will just play all the women, and that's easy.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just like, I don't know. I think I've only really seen her in the two things, but
Oh yeah,
and one of them she was animated already. So, but okay. So Harry asks the obvious question, but for him, that's a good step. So what do you intend to do with me? Kill you. Oh yeah, we did that, I think. So now I'm doing the Princess Bride. So then he asks the other obvious question, which is where I was going with this, which is, then why haven't you? And then Lloyd Slate, who's number 4, like I feel it's almost too campy, but the way he's introducing it and the way I'm reading it now is I feel like you almost have to do like heist movie introduction now, where it's like, first you get Aurora and then it pauses for a moment and you get her name splashed across the screen. And then you get, if you're going to do anime, let's dream a little bit here. And then you get, Lloyd Slate with his little riff and, whatever. But,
or they could just be wearing name tags.
Right. Lloyd's actually mortal, so he gives a shit and he's afraid of Dresden in like a respectful but also terrified kind of way. So he's like, yeah, we should have killed him. I told you that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
For all of his faults, Lloyd Slate is a little bit more of a professional on the side of like just kill the dude instead of talking about it.
Right. Yeah.
You sly dog, you got her monologuing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So they're still pretending that Grum is an ogre, and then Dresden activates a second brain cell. Why call him Grum? Might as well drop the glamour, Lord Marshal. There's not much point to it now. The ogre's face twisted with surprise. You too, Coric. Both the ogre and unicorn glanced at Aurora. The fairy queen never took her eyes off me, but nodded. The ogre's form blurred and twisted and resolved itself into the form of Talos, the she-lord from Aurora's penthouse at the Rothschild, because we need all of that reminder. Blah, blah, blah. His pale hair had been drawn back into a fighting braid, and he wore close-fit mail of some glittering black metal that made him look real thin and deadly. At the same time, the unicorn shook itself and rose up into the hulking form of Korik, the centaur, also dressed in mail and bearing weapons of fairy make. He stamped one huge hoof and said nothing. How long have you known, wizard? Not long. I started to get it on the way out of Mother Winter's cottage, so, let's not give him too much credit. Once I knew where to start, it wasn't hard to start adding up the numbers. Let's see. If he puzzled it out, others might have as well. We should know if any other opposition is coming. Tell me, wizard, how did you piece it together? Go to hell. So.
I mean, if that's
Very
not an answer,
reasonable.
I don't know what is.
Yeah. And then Elaine comes in. It's like, you already told him that you're going to kill him. He's not going to cooperate. Like,
I mean, yeah. So, the final reveal.
yeah.
Number 5 of the heist thing with the big bad. It's Elaine. Something.
Right. Do we do she's got her hood and half of her face covered, and like, I don't know. I'm just
No, she's
being
actually the
animal now.
only one who doesn't even have clothes on.
Okay. So yeah, so Harry recounts the whole, I know how you did it. He does it was Lloyd Slate in the stairwell with the, ice stuff.
Fists of Fury.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Dresden is explaining it to the audience essentially to also gloat
Right.
at Aurora. I figured it out, but it's like, why is he really doing it to act to when he's already told Aurora go to hell because she's going to kill him, and why would he cooperate? He's like, he can't help but gloat that I figured it out. Ha ha. It's like the opposite of the wizard thing. I'm going to be cryptic just because I can.
Right. Yeah, maybe. But then like a final nugget here is, let's see. She's like, very good confirming. And then she's like, what else? You hired the ghoul, the tigress. You sent her after me before Mab even spoke to me. I do not know this ghoul. You are incorrect, wizard. I do not hire killers. But continue.
Slate.
So,
Slate.
what?
She does not hire killers, and yet she has Slate.
Yeah, right. Well, she didn't hire him. He's doing what he loves, so, which is the most summer thing that we could possibly have,
She just kind of suggests a direction for him to go down, but no
Right.
currency exchange, no promises, nothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth, but like, even explaining the attack on Elaine wasn't as bad as Elaine made it look, and Aurora made it look worse so that they could keep Dresden on tilt. Yeah, so apparently because she doesn't know anything about the tiger, it's, the fact that she sent Talos, Elaine, and Slate to kill him at the garden center is no, it's not coincidence. Slate's the gunman, right? Because we don't see him at the okay. We assumed like there's only one sniper and it was Ace, but really there was just two people.
It was Slate and the tigress was there, but like, so the
That's
chlorofiend,
true. Yeah.
the chlorofiend is being done by somebody.
Aurora. I always assumed it was Aurora.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I think Harry says as much later. I don't remember if she takes credit for it directly, like when she's getting killed or just before. But
right. This all leads up to my favorite part of the exchange, which is Slate stepped closer. Spooky. He doesn't look all that smart. Yeah.
that's when somebody has to knock him on the head and be like, yeah, they say that about you.
Okay. Yet he only used reason. Plus knowledge doubtless gained from the queens and mothers. He put it together for himself rather than being told.
What a
And
dick.
she glares at Elaine. So
Why couldn't you do that?
Yeah. Great. No one squealed. Can we kill the great Kreskin now? Slate's a dick. So
But not inaccurate.
Yeah.
Kind of want to get rid of the guy. No, I'm going to leave him in an easily escapable situation and hope it all went to plan. What?
Well, I guess he did build in reason of it. Aurora herself cannot kill Harry because he's immortal, so she has to have Elaine do it, but Elaine doesn't want to do it. So, like, there's visible loopholes as to why it works.
Well, and what
drop the thing and
what's
shoot him.
dumb, yeah, what's dumb is like Slate is also there. Like, you know, it works out for
Yeah.
Dresden, right? You know, because
Yeah.
Aurora volunteers and they're stupid and eager to let her do it, and you know, so like that's the way out. But yeah, if she wanted it done right, she should use the killer instead of, you know,
But
the
Slate would have to
ex-girlfriend.
get close to it versus Elaine can supposedly kill him from far away, and Slate doesn't want to get close to Harry because Harry's
Yeah.
scary.
I'm not actually a wizard, but while I do expect that the bullet breaking the plane of the circle would shatter the circle, it would also shortly thereafter shatter Dresden. So
I was going to say, yeah, he tries to make
it's sufficient.
a good end around with the death curses to being why they shouldn't get closer or stick around or whatever. But it's like, I mean,
Right.
he's not faster than a bullet.
Right. Or 20, you know, like bullets. are
Although
cheap.
then again, it is the
So-
never. So I guess it might not work because, you know, wonky physics there.
Okay, point. That's a good point for sure. So yeah,
We
because
did it, we solved the problem.
yeah, otherwise I feel like this is a good point to, you know, to invoke Peter's evil overlord list and just be like, bullets are cheap and plentiful. 20 of them will mess up most wizards. So
So would the bullet not fire? I don't know. That would be an interesting thing to have out of physics of the Never Never. But
Or
maybe
does
it's
the
just
gun
not wise
explode?
to bring bullets to the mothers and leave them in their garden
Well, yeah, there's
to
lots.
bring
I
the
mean,
bane.
you
Yeah,
have that
not-
issue,
And just
but
something,
you know.
some idea of iron.
yeah,
I guess it depends.
It
It
might
would
be
depend on the
scope
gun,
activated.
because a more modern gun
Yeah.
is already going to have trouble around these people. Well, not necessarily these people, because we see plenty later on. You know, like
Yeah.
fucking gruffs carrying submachine guns and shit. So that
Right.
that really isn't an issue. But that again is in the mortal world. So I think you
Yeah.
can get away with the never aspect of, you know, this is not necessarily a foolproof tool, as opposed to, you know, a big club. But we can't use big club because big wizard will yell at us and curse us with his big death curse. So
Yeah. Yep. All right. And then, you know, we get Aurora telling him the rest of her entire evil plan, that the cycle must be broken. We get the gist. And, you know, Harry's like appropriately shocked, and you'll end it by sending the natural world into chaos. I did not set the price. So I think
she's
this will be a
accepted
really
the
good
price.
scene. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I
on
mean,
behalf of everyone.
we'll retouch this again in like 10 more pages, because then he's got to explain it to the alphas and everything. So
I accept this award on behalf of humanity who did not ask.
right.
Some of you may die, but that's the price I'm willing to pay. Whatever that line is.
Sacrifice. Come on.
Yep. Good one though.
So what we're
Does-
saying is John Lithgow is playing Aurora, which I'm okay with.
Does he have the requisite eyes?
That's why
Yeah.
we do animated.
He's got soulful eyes. He could do it
Okay.
Can he pull off that battle dress?
easily. How much Third Rock from the Sun did you watch as a younger person?
None.
Okay,
Travesty.
it is. It's an entertaining show.
Yeah. So she caps it off with, does the White Council know what you've discovered? Bite me, fairy fruitcake. So we got to get that in there, obviously.
Yes.
Because Slate tries not to laugh and hiding it under a cough. So
Do we say the line, or do we just have him pull out a fruitcake with a fairy like decoration topper on it and just actually bite into it instead? For subtext, of course.
the first one, but while yours is funny, I think it would be lost on most of the audience. So
Yeah.
No, we don't want them. We don't want normies.
kinda
We
need
want
them.
deep reference people.
What did you say, ape? And then Elaine has to jump in because, you've just pissed off one of the queens and she's going to turn you into a pretzel now or figure something out. So. Yeah. And then Slate cops to his motivation. Oh, yeah. So he is getting paid, right? He's getting the double mantle. So,
I was going to say, yeah, he's allegedly.
Yeah,
right.
he's not very smart if he thinks that that's going to work without tearing him apart.
Wow.
Yeah. Slate is not burdened by an overabundance of schooling in this case. So
all he knows is, double the power. It's like,
Right.
yeah, okay, sure, but no.
Yeah, we don't have confirmation for how long he's been the knight. We do know that he was chosen by Maeve, which was a bad choice.
right.
But it's, I don't know, some number of years, to the point where it was touched on that if he lost the mantle, the actual, like, just normal aches and pains of regular life, as well as all the injuries he's racked up, would be debilitating. But
Mhm.
like, I don't know, for as much as he's known, or he should know, for him to think that he can have mantles of both courts without disastrous body consequences is just really dumb.
I mean, he probably
Right.
wasn't thinking about it, and I guess in theory, because I don't think, because the idea is to take the power away from summer and put it into winter. That would, if it didn't destabilize the whole, I mean, it would destabilize it, but I suppose it could also transform the power into winter power. Like that would be kind of the whole point: is you're taking from summer and you're giving winter the advantage now permanently. So they wouldn't make use of summer power. It would have to transform into winter power, otherwise.
There's two
And
parts to this.
yeah.
So, I mean, first of all, Slate doesn't know how it works,
No.
but neither does Aurora, because Aurora thinks that by, them, the two houses destroying each other, and then she's going to clean up the ashes, she's going to wind up with all the power, and then she's going to be able to give all that power to whoever she wants, which metaphysically might be possible because we already have matter and energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only change forms, the law of equivalence here and everything like that, invoked by the mothers. And there's a long-standing theory that the she and the fae and everything like that are basically the next step out from like the Norse deities, right? And they had gotten it from the Greeks and so on. So we know the energy can transform theoretically, or maybe just I mean, part of what I'm saying is like there weren't two opposing houses necessarily, right? You didn't have a summer and a winter per se in like Norse mythology, or not in the core pantheon, I don't think. Maybe they did. Maybe it wasn't a big a shift as I'm thinking, because I'm thinking they took their existing power and basically split it down the middle, right, for a checks and balances type of thing.
Yeah, it was either a pre-existing set of the fairy creatures and they just kind of like made it all more. I mean, that's kind of what it was. It was both parts, right? It was taking the power and you're bumping up these people. And then it was just a matter of whether or not they created, quote unquote, the winter summer dichotomy, or if that was just already a split of these factions and now they got superpowered.
That's the one I think. I think that the power was passed down, but the structure that it took was something native to the Fae.
Right. And so does that mean if Aurora had won somehow and everything like that, hypothetically, would the power be recombined, or would it stay split, and Aurora doesn't know and Slate doesn't know either, but Aurora has lied. The second part of this is Aurora has lied and manipulated Slate into thinking that's how it's going to work, so.
Yeah, I can't see that Aurora would get to,
and she does think it works that way.
That too. I can't see that it would actually work in the way that Aurora would get to choose where the power goes. Like on a possible reasonable level is that if they put the Summer Knight's mantle into Winter's court, it's going to go where the Winter Knight's mantle is, which is currently in Slate, rather than going to one of the queens to then be doled out to a second knight.
Well, see, that I think is the whole Slate thing is whether or not he gets the power is I don't think it's incidental to Aurora. Aurora, I don't think cares as long as the balance is irreparably shifted. So the whole
Right.
point is they get this extra bit of power from Summer. I think, I mean, obviously, it's got to have some sort of reasoning behind it because they're all going to blow each other up over this. So the
Mhm.
queens have to think this is a viable enough threat of some
Right.
kind, even if it's just a matter of the fact that the mantle's gone. We don't know what's happening with it, but that's also power that's missing. So, yes, it goes into the table, it gets kind of dry cleaned and turned into winter, and then that's it. Like, it's there. I don't think it necessarily just snaps into Slate, but it's there.
Right. Yeah, no, because I mean, theoretically, it would go to Mab to distribute,
Mhm.
because that's how the mantles work in the first place. But I just had a thought as well about the like super long game here. Probably still involves the stone table because the stone she sacrifices the power. It goes to Winter. Winter has the stone table, and their power is growing, and basically the stone table is also the mechanism in which you could recombine that power. Obviously, this is the evil and terrible and dark timeline, but Aurora fancies herself as like they'll duke it out, they'll kill each other, whatever, however she scrapes up the power, and then when whatever's left over, like the Mayans have got nothing on her as far as like she's just going to sacrifice the shit out of all of the Fae to put
I
all of
mean,
that power in one bucket. that's
so
that's a viable way she could do it with what we know right now, so
so imagine a timeline in which Harry's not involved in any of this, but uh, the stone table gets made. The battle has to be made because of the missing knight's mantle, and Aurora successfully kills Lily on the stone table. She could do the next crazy step of killing herself on the stone table to give the power to Winter.
sure, she wouldn't
And
though.
like it doesn't seem like that's any of her intention, but like
Yeah,
she needs the stone table to be there to the battlefield to be made.
yeah,
And that needs to
she
happen because Mab and Titania need to be equal to each other. Titania needs to be the self-destruct to Mab.
right,
So they have to try to equal it out. But Nemesis's goal is to unequal it as much as possible.
sure.
So Aurora doesn't
Nemesis could
understand.
sacrifice Aurora on the table. That I would buy, but Aurora
Mhm.
doing it, even in her misguided self, I wouldn't buy. And part of that is because when Dresden explains this again in like 20 pages to the alphas or Meryl or whomever, he talks about like the reason why Aurora is giving the power to Winter is because that's literally her only play. And so she wants the imbalance. That's what she needs. She wouldn't sacrifice herself, I would say, because she still fucking hates Winter. It's just literally the only thing she could do to create the imbalance necessary to start the war,
Well, she also thinks that
So,
she's in the right, so her hands are
sure,
the safest to
sure.
steer the rest of this as time goes on.
But it was very close that when Aurora is about to kill Lily after doing the
Mhm.
unraveling, Aurora was very close to the stone table herself, getting killed. So it could have happened in that fashion too, of just like Aurora needs the imbalance, Nemesis needs the imbalance because they
Well,
need
that
the courts to be destabilized.
I was going to say that ends up being her almost last play, right? Like she's bleeding out and she starts crawling towards the table to try and because she knows she's going to die, and she's like, "Well,
Right.
fuck it, I'll just do it," because that was the
I
end.
mean, it's a
Yeah.
death curse, right? That's the
Yeah,
nuclear option. But she wouldn't, she wouldn't do it if she was otherwise full bodied and in health and everything like that. She'd be like, oh, what's funny, and then like obviously it makes the situation worse. But kind of like what EG said, she thinks she's going to come out of this, on top. Like really. Thinking about it too, as much as anything, I'm kind of surprised nobody makes a play about Palm. Like, is that just too far gone? Where it's like clearly Titania cares about Aurora. Nobody stopped to think like, really, you're going to cause all this chaos and everybody's going to die and like you're going to take over. So what happens to Mom? Or is it just like a foregone conclusion that she hates everybody, including her mom's part of the system and whatever?
Probably just
But
short-sightedness, like
yeah,
not understanding ever of like, oh, if you get to be in control, that means that you're going to be the queen. That means that something happened. Like maybe she thinks that Mother Summer is going to die, and so Titania becomes Mother Summer. Something like there's possibilities, but it is just short-sightedness because Aurora is being driven insane by Nemesis.
Sure.
We're never going to finish this damn book.
Nope, we're not. So Harry calls out Elaine for helping Aurora, and Elaine says, well, I'm doing it for survival, blah blah blah. If Aurora isn't stopped, someone is going to get hurt. Someone gets hurt every day. When you get right down to it, does it matter who, how, or why? People are going to die, Elaine. Better them than me. So better me than you too, huh? Looks that way. Then we get insolent Dresden. He folds his arms and leans against the back of his toadstool cell.
That's it.
Oh, so Slate is going to kill him with a sword. So, yeah. That's what I was just getting through too. But yeah, that's the end of 27. So,
yay.
But yeah, so 28, I faced Slate head on. I figured as long as I was going to take one of those swords, it might as well have a shot at killing me pretty quick. No sense in dragging it out. But I left my eyes on Aurora and held whatever power I had gathered up and ready. I'm sorry, wizard, Aurora said. You're about to be, I muttered.
Which was probably stupid. If that was your plan, like, why even bother?
He's like, I got 3 aces. Come at me, bro. And, then Elaine is like, obvious play is obvious. So she catches
He
Slate's
is the
wrist.
smartest one there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well, Dresden's a toddler that's going for the electric socket, and she's like, no.
Right. And Elaine and the others probably think that they're too ancient and untouchable and stuff, right? And you get some of that, conversation, Aurora, what are you doing? I'm protecting you, Elaine said. If you let Slate kill him, he'll break the circle around Dresden. And Dresden's yelling in the background and everything like that. And you'll leave yourself open to his death curse. He'll take you with him or make you wish he had. He isn't that strong. Don't be so sure. He's the strongest wizard I've ever met. Strong enough to make the White Council nervous. Why take pointless risks so close to the end? You treacherous bitch. God damn you, Elaine. So that'll just be fun to have a like half volume in the background. Dresden just like pounding on the, the circle or something. But
you're muted.
Yeah.
Is that?
Am I?
No, that was me.
No, he was.
Okay.
I was saying it'll be like every time Ed was in the background when somebody calls him a pipsqueak. Yes, I started watching it.
Yes,
good.
There you go.
That's for next week, but good.
Yeah,
good signs.
I'd like to digress, but we're gonna just go. So, yeah. Blah blah blah. They explain magical mechanics, and then Elaine regarded Dresden passionlessly. Drown him, she said finally. Call water and let the earth drink him. I'll lock him into place with a binding of my own. Mortal magic will last even after I've left. Are you capable of holding him? I know his defenses. I'll hold him as long as necessary. So much rage. Very well, Elaine. Hold him. So yeah, and one of the other things with our whole back and forth about Slate and getting the power and stuff like that is that Dresden does start to break through to Slate, make him doubt a little bit about like, has she ever told you a half truth? Has she ever lied to you or whatever? And he starts to think, and Aurora whammies him right at that moment. She comes up behind him and like caresses him and is like, oh, peace. And, he's a tricky, treacherous little wizard and stuff like that. So, it could be a little bit of Aurora doesn't know how it works. And also, the mind whammy, but.
Yeah, Slate has been directed as just a general thug, but seems to be manipulated by drugs, because we see that Maeve and whoever like was actually like giving him intravenous heroin or something to calm him down, or the glamour. He's just completely at the mercy of whoever is trying to handle him. He's not able to have himself grounded in any way, which is probably good because he's a bad guy, but
right. Yeah. And then we get a bunch of stuff that's great to describe, but not, going to be a lot for demonstration. But he gets locked in a straitjacket that's invisible. I
And
felt
then he
the earth.
starts thinking in quickstand.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt the earth beneath me shift and sag, and then a slow bloop bloop of earth settling as water began rising up beneath me. It took maybe 5 seconds for the ground to become so soft that my feet sank into the warm mud up to my ankles. Hell's bells. Mortal time is racing, Aurora said, and opened her eyes. The day grows short. Come. That left Elaine. She came forward until she stood almost close enough to touch me. Slender and pretty, she regarded me steadily while she took a band from her jeans pocket and bound her hair back into a tail. Why, Elaine? I struggled furiously against the spell, but it was stronger than me. Why the hell did you stop her? You're an idiot, Harry. A melodramatic fool. You always were. I mean, anybody who says melodramatic fool is being a melodramatic fool. I'm just saying. I could have stopped her. I couldn't be sure you wouldn't have thrown the curse at me, too. Goodbye, Harry. So, yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, she turned enough so that I could see her profile. She said in that same casually neutral tone, "It's just like old times." After that, they left me there to die. It's hard not to panic in that kind of situation. I mean, I've been in trouble before, but not that kind of TikTok, here it comes kind of way. The problem in front of me was simple, steady, and inescapable. The ground kept getting softer as I kept sliding down into it. The sensation of it was warm and not entirely unpleasant. I mean, people pay money for hot mud baths, but mine would be lethal if I didn't find a way out of it, and the mud was already creeping up over my thighs. Yeah, it's more stuff of him calculating his options and whatever. Just like old times, I wheezed. Yeah, just like old times, Elaine, you backbiting, poisonous, treacherous. And then a thought hit me. Just like old times. Deceitful, wicked, clever girl. If this works, I'll buy you a pony. So, yeah.
He needs to be saying that right as the mud is starting to go over his face.
Right. Yeah. I put the studied indifference of her words together with her whole bloodless attitude. That wasn't the Elaine I remembered. I could buy that she would murder me in a fit of rage, poison me out of flaming jealousy, or bomb my car out of sheer stubborn pique. But she would never do it and feel nothing. The mud covered my chest, and still Aurora's circle hadn't faded. Yeah. I wasn't fighting it anymore. I got a good deep breath just before my nose went under. He starts hyperventilating and then gets his final breath. So somewhere between 74 and 75, Aurora's circle vanished. I reached out for power, gathering it in, shaping it in my mind. I didn't want to rush it, but it was hard not to. I took all the time I could without panicking before I reached out again for the fabric of Elaine's spell. I'd been right. It was the same biting she'd used when we were kids, when she'd been holding me down while my old master, Justin DeMorn. I mean, how do we not internal dialogue this? Like, he can't talk. He's suffocating in the mud. So, so, besides schoolwork, we studied each other's bodies probably, and, spells and mental discipline and blah, blah, blah. So, she's using her binding, but it's a binding Dresden had worked out, which is why it sucks. So it sucked because it had no flexibility to it, no subtlety, no class. It dropped a cocoon of hardened air around the target and locked it there, period. End of story. As teenagers, we had thought it impressively effective and simple. As a desperate man about to die, I realized that it was a brittle spell like a diamond that was simultaneously the hardest substance on Earth and easily fractured if struck at the correct angle. Now that I knew what I was doing, I found the clumsy center of the spell where I located it all those years ago, tying all the strands of energy together at the small of the back like a Christmas bow. There in the mud and darkness, I focused on the weak spot of the spell, gathered all my will, and muttered with my mouth clenched closed, "Tuppity-tup-tup." It came out mumpity-mump-bump, but that didn't make it any difference on the practical side.
Not English, so it's all good.
Right. Yeah. I'd done it. I'd escaped the binding. Now I was merely drowning in what amounted to quicksand. So then he uses Fozari to blast himself out. The earth exerted force up toward me, and I flew out of the mud, muck, and water, flying up with me in a cloud of spray. I had a wild impression of mist and dreary ground, and then a tree, and then it was replaced with a teeth-rattling impact. By the time I'd coughed out a mouthful of mud and choked air back into my lungs, I had the presence of mind to wipe mud out of my eyes. I found myself 20 feet off the ground, dangling from the branches of one of the skeletal trees. My arms and legs hung loosely beneath me, and my jeans felt tight at the waist. I tried to see how I'd gotten hung up that way, but I couldn't. I couldn't possibly get a hand and a foot on different branches. I could possibly get a hand and a foot on different branches, but I could barely wiggle, and I couldn't get loose. You foil a fairy queen, I panted to myself, survive your own execution, get away from certain death, and get stuck up a frickin' tree. I struggled some more, just uselessly. One mud-covered boot fell off and hit the ground with a soggy plop. God, I hope no one sees you like this. The sound of footsteps drifted out of the mist, coming closer.
And then someone saw him like that.
Right.
Saw the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was he going to do? Interfere?
No, never.
Yeah.
He'll help with paperwork, but never actually interfere.
That's not true. He gives him ointment this time.
Right. Yeah. We'll get there. I pushed the heel of my hand against my right eyebrow. Some days you just can't win. I folded my arms and had them sternly crossed over my chest when a tall, shrouded form emerged from the mist below. Dark robes swirled, a deep hood concealed, and a gloved hand gripped a wooden staff.
Yeah, Dresden's trying to look like, I meant to do that. This is my intention.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. You're inconveniencing me by coming up here while I'm stuck in this tree.
Don't you dare help me.
Right. The gatekeeper turned his head toward me and became still for a moment. Then he reached his other gloved hand into his hood. He made a strangled, muffled sound. Hi, I said. King of Wit. That's me. Greetings, Wizard Dresden. Am I interrupting anything? My other boot fell off and plopped to the ground. Nothing all that important. That is good, he said. He paced around a bit, peering up at me, and then said, there's a broken branch through your belt. Get your right foot on the branch below you, your left hand on the one above you, and loosen your belt. You should be able to climb down. What are you doing here? Looking for you. You've been watching? Call it listening, but I have had glimpses of you, and matters are worsening in Chicago. Stars and stones. I don't have time for a chat. The gatekeeper put up a gloved hand on my arm. But you do, he said. My vision is limited, but I know that you have accomplished your mission for the Winter Queen. She will keep her end of the bargain, grant a safe passage through her realm. So far as the council is concerned, that will be enough. You would be safe. Wizard Dresden, you could end your involvement in the matter. You could choose to step clear of it right now. It would end the trial. And then Dresden spirals into despair. And finally, 3 paragraphs later, no, it isn't over. No, why not? Because I'm an idiot. And there are people in trouble. Wizard, no one expects you to stop a war between the she courts. The council would assign no such responsibility to any one person. To hell with the she courts, I said, and to hell with the council too. There are people I know in trouble, and I'm the one who turned some of this loose. I'll clean it up. You sure you wouldn't step out of the trial now? I won't. Then I will not vote against you. Oh, you would have? Had you walked away, I would kill you myself. Why? Because voting against you would have been the same thing in any case. It seems meet to me that I should take full responsibility for that choice rather than hiding behind council protocol. Well, thanks for not killing me then. If you'll excuse me, I've got somewhere to be. Yes. Take these. You may find use for them. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Ned Stark.
Right. Yeah, we know what it gives him.
Could be anything.
You're helping me? That would constitute interfering in the trial, he corrected me. So far as anyone else is concerned, I am merely seeing to it that the trial can reach its full conclusion. If you'd just given me the rock, maybe. The ointment is something else. You're interfering. The council would have a fit.
Council doesn't need to know.
The gatekeeper sighed. Wizard Dresden, this is something that I have never said before and do not anticipate saying again. He leaned closer to me, and I could see the shadows of his features, gaunt and vague, inside his hood. One dark eye sparkled with something like humor as he offered his hand and whispered, sometimes what the council does not know does not hurt it.
Because usually he doesn't need to spell out the concept, but he
Right.
does need to say that outright to Dresden.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so now he gets hurried. And he gets Allah and good fortune go with you. The gatekeeper opens a portal for him. And then Dresden has to wonder what he wears to a war.
Is he still covered in mud?
Well, he goes back to his apartment, basically. So, yeah. Let's see. What is it? The light was... So, rain sleeted down and thunder shook the ground. The light was already fading and dark was coming on. I ignored them all and headed for my apartment. The mud substance of the Never Never melted into a viscous goo. That makes sense because,
Right.
ectoplasm.
Not better for cleanup.
So, right.
But it
I mean,
disappears
it
after
does-
a minute or two.
Yeah, it does sublimate. So, yeah. So, yeah, chapter 28 or 29 even, he goes with basic black. So, of course, back in black, right? That's obligatory. This is where he gets his doctor's valise out, all of his, phallic foci.
Mhm.
Black military style boots, black jeans, black tee, black ball cap with a Coke emblem on it and a
Russell,
leather
you just wear a
duster.
hat.
Yes. Yeah. This one time. So, yep. And, then he's got his, black car is black. Never mind. So, anyway, he also takes the Dirty Harry Magnum, but he doesn't want to be stopped and possibly arrested for it. So he throws the case and everything just into his bag, which this valise is like a duffel bag, apparently. So, but like I've got
Very
one that's
easy to
kind of
grab if
valise
you need
and
it.
it's not. Yeah. And he acknowledges that. He's like, he'd rather risk it because he mostly just wants to use it on the Fae upstairs rather than he anticipates needing it in Chicago. So, from his phone calls, basically he gets outside and then a van pulls up and there's 10 or 11 alphas in there. They're the ones who volunteered. I said only volunteers. I don't know how much trouble we're getting into. Right. I told him that. So then it's got Meryl and Fix in the back of the van. He gets in the passenger side, breaks out the gray stone with the string wraps it around his hand, and then dangles it. And then it very definitely leans to the east. So they basically
Because-
follow that.
Cardinal directions work great with city streets.
Yeah, well, what it is it's pointing to the lake, and so he just knows that is east of where they are and everything. Because guess what? The lake is east of everything in Chicago. That's how that works. But yeah, so yeah, it points to the east, and then Billy's like, "I hope you know a couple of streets I don't." Then, because he's like, "I don't know how to get there from here because that's not a direction that we can drive a van." So. So then, they're going back and forth with some dialogue, and then Billy asks him what the score is. Well-intentioned, but dangerously insane bad guys, and these are all in caps, so it's important, are headed down the stretch. The fairy courts are duking it out up there, and it's probably going to be very hairy. The summer lady is our baddie. The winter night is her bitch. She has a magic hanky. She's going to use it to change a statue into a girl and kill her on a big Flintstones table at midnight. So, stone table, very much circular. Go look for a picture of the Flintstones table. It looks exactly like what you should have imagined from the description at the end of the day. So, yeah. And this is very Tony Stark, description. Like, I'm just saying, like, they pretty much do this exact thing in one of the Avengers movies, I think. So, yeah, Infinity War. we're going to steal a necklace from a wizard, or no, he's here to steal a necklace from a wizard, that sort of thing. So same energy. You can hate Marvel all you want. I'm sorry, it's the same humor in the Dresden Files too.
No, they're just ripping off Dresden at this
you know.
point because Infinity War happened afterwards.
No. No, because we're going to have big problems when we get to Mirror then. And so it's like, yes, he's ripping off Star Trek almost certainly. And, very possibly there's going to be some overlap in the multiverse stuff. Let's just keep that separate, because I don't want to have those thoughts while I'm reading it. So, all right. So my notes say definitely round then the table, just saying. So, there's a bunch of explaining bits as Billy's like, hey, let me ask you a bunch of questions. I don't remember if this is the part where he basically explains that the only reason why, I think this is the part where he explains that the only reason why Aurora is doing the thing is because that's literally the only thing she can do. She needs the imbalance, and we'll just go from there. So, but yeah.
And Meryl is growling in the back, probably.
Ish. Yeah, I don't think we get like a bunch of stuff. I'm sure maybe she asked some cross questions. I didn't bother with all the dialogue. They get to Burnham Harbor, which is lit up with halogen lights, stadium style and everything like that. Billy gets out and throws his clothes in through the window. And I was just like, that's a perfect comedic opportunity of Dresden just being in there and just sweatpants right in the face. It's not how it's happened, but that's how I imagined it. Basically, everybody else gets out and gets naked. Dresden basically goes down the line and puts the ointment under their eyes, and then they shift. So
he's surrounded by a bunch of naked college students.
Yes,
touching them,
and
just like Bob always wanted.
Right. Well, and I hate that I can't remember her name, but the redhead and Marcy are there. Andy, thank you. So yeah, Andy smirks because Dresden notices that she's all grown up now, and Marcy's like, yeah, she's been insufferable this summer. So yeah, you don't get their names at this point, which is part of why I couldn't remember. But yeah.
Oh yeah, it would be weird if you couldn't remember, but it was staring you right in the face. Then we'd have to have some intervention about you going to a doctor later. Right.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't remember that either though. So yeah, unfortunately I've got, some bad news. So you have, Alzheimer's and you have cancer. That's really bad.
And you have that thing that Drew Barrymore had in 50 First Dates, except it's every 10 seconds instead. Oh, actually that guy in 50 First Dates who forgot everything after 10 seconds. Yeah. I forgot they accounted for that.
Yeah. 30-second Tom. Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least I don't have Alzheimer's. So anyway, I flipped that for comedic effect. But after all the wolves turn, so after the alphas all change into their form, they all hear something in the dark and turn and scatter. Billy barks a command and they all scatter. So the Dresden and Meryl and Fix are left there basically, in the halogen lights and everything like that. And they don't see anything because they're not wolves. And, Dresden is pretending to be confident, but also somewhat confident that it's like there are 11 big wolves out there. So if something's going on, they're going to find out about it, So Meryl and Fix are kind of skittish and they're asking him some questions. And he just kind of does the hero thing of like, let's not worry about that. Let's go this way, type of thing. So they go up to a gate. The gate did have a lock on it, but it has been twisted, and is still steaming. So this was rather recent, probably what the wolves heard. Fix's character, I liked the moment because Fix is like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Perfectly good pair of bolt cutters. And yeah, nasties be irrational that way.
Yeah. And doesn't Fix have his own tool bag with him?
He's got his
starts pulling out a pliers and clip, 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 clip.
Yeah, he doesn't do the pliers right now, but he does have a big old red toolbox is what I'm imagining, right? Yeah, because once they get past the gate, the halogen lights go out and Fix dumps his toolbox and pulls out a mag light. So it's got to be a chunky toolbox, right? And here in a minute, there's a description of him being surprisingly strong considering his wiry frame. So yeah, he's got tool strength, strong grip and all of that. So so he breaks out a Maglite, Meryl breaks out a glow stick, and then gets shot. So Fix, Dresden yells at Fix to lose the light, and he panics, of course, because it's Fix, and he throws the light, and it basically spirals on the ground and then illuminates the Tigress. And so you get this entire paragraph of like, this is where I asked you earlier. I was like, should we play this up for the horror bits? Because it's kind of written a little scary, but at the same time, it's just like ghouls are fucking creepy. Like you would not want to find a ghoul in the middle of the night,
You might be able to do both horror and comedy at this moment.
Oh, sure. The
So
horror
just,
gives
like-
way to comedy because of how it goes down,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that mix.
Yeah. Yeah. So in her natural form, she was hunch-shouldered, gray-skinned fiend, something blending the worst features of mankind, hyena, and baboon. Short, wiry red hairs prickled over her whole body. Her legs were stunted and strong, her arms too long, and her hands tipped in spurs of bone that replaced nails. Her hair hung about her head in a soggy, matted lump, and her eyes, furious as she came running forward, glared with malice. Pink and gray scars stood out against her skin, swollen areas where she'd healed all the damage that Murphy had inflicted on her the night before. She flew toward us over the ground, running with all four limbs, mouth gaping wide. So yeah, I think that's the part where it's like you could focus on Fix a little bit and he could just like shit his pants, just be like trying to scramble backwards and get away from her and whatever. And which is belied by the next line is she didn't see the alphas closing in behind her, basically. So yeah, so the alphas do what the alphas do, and they take out both her hamstrings, and then while she's still trying to be feisty and everything like that, 11 wolves simultaneously tear her limb from limb. What was left over is not recognizable as its constituent parts, and Dresden almost throws up, but he looks away to avoid that. And then he and a surprisingly strong Fix, this is where that description is, they drag Meryl to cover. Dresden pulls out his gun and preps his shield, but he keeps his gun low so he doesn't accidentally shoot himself in the face, bouncing it off of his shield. And then one of the alphas trots up to him and barks at him. If it turns out that Timmy's stuck down the well, I'm going home. But they go up to the landing, or they go up to the pier is what it is. So they go up to the pier, and that's where we find Ace is there. The gun is, scattered out a little bit. There's a couple of wolves around him, and he's holding his stomach. And there's a bunch of sass from Ace about like, I'm not going to tell you nothing, usual kind of bullshit. And, who are you working for? I'm not going to tell. And okay, tear his nose off. And so he's like, it's like, okay, tear his toes off, his fingers, his ears, whatever it fucking takes for you to talk to me, I was like, you can't protect all of it. So got to jump my book up here because this is about where my notes fall off. So okay, this is too far.
We're professionals.
Yes.
To be fair to him, I didn't think we would have gotten this far either. And that's including with the tangent that was not supposed to happen.
Right?
But as per usual, the director failed to reel us in.
All right. Then this is at least kind of there. So okay. That's why I was thinking there was more. It's so condensed here and it's so dense that I was just like, oh no, it should be like another chapter from here, but it's all of this pretty much happens in a couple of paragraphs. So so Meryl starts talking about how she can feel Mab's call. They talk about, them being changelings. Ace says that he was working for the Red Court, which I didn't remember, and that he hired the Tigress, and that if he had taken out Dresden, the Red Court was going to protect them from Slate. In order to get that information out, he's prompted by Meryl a couple of times by getting kicked in the guts, and he vomits and stuff. So more visual stuff. And then, realizing that they're betrayed, Fix asks Meryl if she's okay. And she says, have to be. Maybe it's just me. Dresden is thinking, maybe it's just me, but her voice sounded a little lower, a little rougher, trollier. Gulp. Let's move, wizard. Yeah. I lifted the gatekeeper's stone and followed it down the wharf past the last pier and then down to the end of the last pier, empty of any ships or boats. A dozen wolves and 2 changelings followed me. Nothing but the cold waters of Lake Michigan and a rolling thunderstorm surrounded me at the end of the pier, and the stone twitched, swinging almost to the horizontal on its pale thread. No kidding, I muttered. I know it's up. He reaches out and feels some intangible energy, and then brilliant light flickering through opalescent shades rose up in front of me, as bright as the full moon and as solid as ice. The light resolved itself into the starry outline of stairs that began at the end of the pier and climbed into the storm above. I stepped forward and put one foot on the lowest step. It bore my weight, leaving me standing on a block of translucent moonlight over the wind-tossed waters of Lake Michigan. Wow, Fix breathed. We go up that? Meryl asked. Woof, said Billy the werewolf. While we're young, I said, and took the next step. Come on, as Stairway to Heaven starts, and the credits roll.
And obviously this episode has to take place the first day of Pride Month.
Does it?
Yes.
Am I missing something here?
Doesn't this end up becoming a rainbow as they go higher up?
That's the Norse.
I know that's the Norse, but I feel like it's just... Maybe it was Starlight. Yeah, I'm just getting it confused.
Literally, this is as far as I got, and then chapter 30.
It probably is Starlight. I don't remember there being a rainbow thing. There might be a rainbow at the end in the battle because it's crazy, weird lights and all that stuff. But
all right, so now we actually might have one more episode before we get through with this book.
Fucking maybe.
There are 21 pages left. So yeah, unfortunately, I think we did. No, we did like just shy of 20 pages. So
listen, see, so we did good. So next time we don't have a tangent and we'll get through that last page.
Us not do a tangent. So yeah.
Well, Andreas will be here to keep the balance.
I mean, if it makes.
I mean, he's technically in chat already, but he's faking that he's sick. But
yeah,
that's the other Andreas.
You can go read the first 3 paragraphs of chapter 30 where he talks about how amazing engineering airplanes is. And with all of that ingenuity, they complain about the drinks.
Yeah.
Yes, because the thing is supposed to work the way it's supposed to work. After I've already taken that leap of faith that the airline's equipment is going to get me to where I need to be without hitting the earth at an unacceptable speed, give me the drink I want.
Mm-hmm. And make it good.
And don't charge me $18.
So have you guys not flown recently? Because I don't think half of those things. So first of all, you're getting charged $18. And second of all, it's going to be watered down. And third of all, you're trapped in a tube 40,000 feet above the earth.
Well,
the complaints department is outside.
the alcohol now, I mean, they give you the bottle, so you decide how watered down, or because it's the little mini fridge bottles. Exactly, they give you the little mini fridge bottle if you're getting liquor, or if you're getting beer, they just give you the can. But it used to be on Delta, if you were sitting in the extra legroom, you got one complimentary drink, and they did away with that 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah. They just keep rolling back all of their perks, and it's like you wonder why you're losing business to the other airlines and stuff like that.
There's no good airlines anymore. Now it's just a matter of the only reason you take an airline is because you want to get there in a time that that's not going to take 48 hours in a car.
Yeah,
straight.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was
I did my best.
This was the Dresden Files and AAA podcast for all your flight, car, and or train needs. If you're going up and down the Eastern Seaboard, Amtrak is an option, except not really.
Planes, trains, and automobiles. Like, it's right there. Okay.
Nope, nobody in our chat has watched that. There's
You
not a
don't need
single
to have
person.
watched it to have just heard that title.
Not
and
a
understood.
single person. Well, you know what? Jonathan's going to say he watched it, but I think he's going to lie to me.
All right. Well, continue on. Take us out. Come on.
Oh, was that
Next
it? No, he said Plane Trains and Automobiles. We're done. Oh, right. We've got a Patreon. That's a thing. So
Yeah.
if you go and you do that, and then you get to come on the Discord, and then Andreas will tell you all about his allergy woes, and you can poke fun at him directly. And if that's not worth the price of admission, I don't know what is.
Right. And next week we're doing Full Metal Alchemist, the first 14 episodes, right? Everyone's going to have watched it. Everyone's
Apparently.
done the homework.
Listen,
Did-
I'm up to
did you
episode
make the
30,
motion?
and I'm going to get through it this week, and then I'm done.
See, this is what I knew you had it in you. Why didn't you do that last week?
Because I didn't want to.
You're up to
Also, I
episode
didn't really
30?
have the time.
I know how fast you can
You're up to
binge
episode
things.
30. Is that what you said?
And what? Yeah.
30?
Yeah,
What?
30.
Jeez.
20,
Yeah.
29 or 30. Yeah.
So you already saw the peak then, so you'll know what I'm talking about when we get there. But
See? I was right.
we know the audience, you know.
Yep.
Although, to be fair, he said planes, trains, and automobiles. So which is the one automobile you like? Because it's clearly not all of them.
Obviously Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, so you know,
Man, fuck that car.
or Herbie, you know.
Herbie's better. Herbie's the way to go.
Yeah, I realized as I said, I was like, no, those are two actually different entire vehicles. So
Yeah, one had a roof and one didn't. Also, one could fly, and the other one was just like a sentient car, but not Christine that it wanted to kill you.
right.
That's it. That's all I got. So
Right.
Quick before I make more references the kids haven't seen.
to
Like,
things from the 70s that no one's watched.